Hey guys, today we are going to talk about SEO versus paid advertising. Okay, so really all forms of digital marketing, almost all forms, I don't want to say all forms, but can be kind of broken down into these two categories. Okay, so SEO, for those of you who don't know at this point, I don't know how many of you are out there, but for those of you who don't know, SEO is search engine optimization. Okay, so I think most people have heard of this term if they've thought about starting a business. I don't want to say most people because maybe some people are just kind of new to all this, but for people who have looked into starting a business, SEO, search engine optimization, is something that you probably heard about or you may know a little bit about. That is, of course, moving up the search rankings in a platform such as Google, a search engine where you'll kind of just move up to the top eventually if you're able to optimize your different landing pages for different keywords that people are typing in and ending up at the top. And paid ads is obviously paying for advertisements on platforms such as Google, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever, name your platform, right? So, when you're starting out a business, it's really hard to know kind of which one of these to focus on. And the reality is, and again, every business is different, so I don't want to kind of give you advice that may not apply, but in 99% of cases, it's good to do both. Okay, so when you're starting out, it's going to take you a while, even if you're in an uncompetitive industry. There's not that many of those left, but if you're in an uncompetitive industry, it's going to still take you a while to rank in Google, for Google to see you as like an authority figure in a specific niche, and to move your page up for different keyword searches that people are entering into search, right? So that is going to take a while. So paid advertising is a good way to kind of get in people's eyes and start getting clicks and start testing things immediately. Okay, so at a high level, what are the advantages and disadvantages of each? Now, paid advertising, you have to obviously spend a lot of money to learn how to kind of really optimize it. And then eventually it'll be super optimized and the efficiency of the spend will be high. But in the beginning, you're gonna have to pay for each sale, and the cost of the sale will be the highest at the beginning when you're still learning because you don't have the data yet to know how to actually optimize. So therefore your cost of a customer acquisition is going to be higher and your profit margins are going to be a lot lower. Right, so that's the big kind of disadvantage of paid ads, is that they actually lower your profit margins because you have to pay to get that customer. Right, the advantage is obviously it's a lot easier. The barriers to entry are really just money, which is a lot easier than to become an authority in whatever niche you're doing and move up the rankings. So that's the high level overview of the paid ads. In terms of the search engine optimization, the advantage of search engine optimization is really quite the opposite of the disadvantage of the paid ads, in that people are finding you organically. So outside of your variable cost, how much it costs to actually service whatever your customer is looking for. If that's a product, your cost of the product plus shipping. If that's a service, the cost to pay any employees or anyone to do the service, that is the only cost with organic ads, right? Sorry, not organic ads, with organic rankings, right? So the cost, the profitability of organic rankings is a lot higher. However, it's going to take you a long time, and by a long time, I'm going to say minimum 3 months. If you're good, it's probably going to take 6 months. For most businesses, it's going to take at least a year, right? In most industries, so you really are playing more of the long game with the search engine optimization. Once you get it, it's great because you're getting, essentially, not, I don't want to say free because you paid for it. in the sense that you had to, probably maybe pay an agency or something to help you out with getting those rankings. Now, I always recommend finding someone on Upwork before paying an expensive SEO agency. Finding someone in like the $8 to $10 an hour range to kind of help you. Definitely get them to do screen record and track their hours through like a software like Time Doctor, or Upwork has its own tracking system. Definitely get them to do that. Otherwise, they will, I don't want to say take advantage of you, but they won't put in the full effort, and they'll put you on autopilot. So you definitely want a system where your SEO, let's call it global team member. A lot of you know this as virtual assistant. I don't like to use that word because I almost feel like it's a bit derogatory to what they're doing. Your global team member, or let's say your SEO partner, will help you out a lot. You just want to make sure you're holding them accountable. I would recommend every single entrepreneur, no matter what industry you're in, to get somewhat fluent in both these spaces. Whatever channels you're looking to advertise on, as well as search engine optimization, you should know the basics of both, because you're gonna have, it's gonna be so critical to your sales and marketing efforts. And at the end of the day, your sales and marketing funnels are what's going to determine like if you're going to be able to grow, and it's going to put you in a position to hire more people and to expand your business. So enough cannot be said about the importance of knowing a little bit of search engine optimization, as well as paid ads. Okay, so for search engine optimization, the best way to kind of keep ranking and to move up is to produce a lot of content. Let's say 1 or 2 blog posts a week. Make sure your SEO partner tags them. Definitely get a Google My Business page, depending on what kind of business you have, and get that, get a lot of reviews for that. And always encourage any customers that you're able to close to, at some point when they've had a good experience, write a review for you. This cannot be emphasized, at all, because one of the big things that you'll realize is, let's say like out of every 50 customers, let's say like 45 have an amazing experience. Maybe 3 have a really okay experience, and then like 1 person is just like unreasonable and has a bad experience. That 1 person will go and write like a horrible review for you on whatever platforms they can. Now I always recommend like just compensating that person, and just it's not worth it. But some people, they just want to go like write a review or something. So whereas those 45 people that had a great experience, they are not necessarily going to it's just write a review because they don't they just got what they expected. They're happy. So you really got to push them to kind of try to like write a review for you once. Don't be aggressive, don't be annoying, but just ask them once. They'll probably say sure. They'll probably forget, so just remind them, and they will get to it. Most people, it's not their number 1 priority to do that, but if you just remind them in a friendly way, that'll really also help your rankings. Just getting more and more consistent Google reviews. Your SEO partner will be able to get you some backlinks and all that kind of stuff. Write your own content, and then figure out sites that have authority in your space, and reach out to them and ask them if you can do like a guest post for them. Maybe for some of my businesses, we've done like reviews of products that we've used in the same kind of field, and as a result we got backlinks from like really high ranking sites, and as a result our SEO rankings really moved up. So SEO is somewhat simple. As soon as you get the technical side, like the tagging and the back end, all that stuff set up, it's just about putting out content, getting reviews, and just promoting yourself, and getting tons of people to come to your website through like social media and all that kind of stuff, and stay on your website and click around and all that kind of stuff. So it's more of a long game thing, something you have to do consistently. When you're starting out, the great thing is you'll have more time, so you can do these things yourself, like write your posts, maybe get them edited by your SEO person, and just you really kind of do it a little, just budget a couple hours a week to write some content or something like that, and that'll eventually move you up and up the rankings. Depending on the industry, you can actually move up quite fast. Like, I have a few different businesses, one of which actually you would think is going to be like a really competitive industry. It's more of a local business, this one, and we were able to get it number one for one of like the most important keywords very, very quickly. I think it took about 3 months. Maybe budgeted like $5,000 for the SEO guy, and just wrote some content as well, with our staff internally, and it moved up quite quick, and that ranking probably generates like $10,000 a month in revenue from the organic, not the paid, just the organic leads that come from that, and it only costs like $5,000, but it was consistent and it was strategic, and it was done. For me, it's not my first business, so we kind of know what to do at this point in different niches. But if you're just starting out, at least for me, when I first starting out, like it took a bit longer. I started out actually in a bit of an uncompetitive industry, so I was kind of lucky in that sense in my first business. So I was somewhat new what I was doing, so it was kind of easy to rank and get some traffic. But at this point, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of businesses that are completely new that you could just you could start for the first time. It's not that common. So it is. I feel like in the maybe like early mid 2010s, like a lot of industries were starting up for the first time. Now I don't know. Maybe I'm just not paying attention as much, or I'm too focused on what I'm already doing. But it doesn't. It just feels like there are new businesses, but they're kind of more like branching off existing businesses. Whereas the 2010s and like the mid 2010s, early 2010s, felt like there was a lot of changes happening as a result of technology. Like there's still a lot of changes happening now, but definitely felt like a lot of changes were happening. So I was able to kind of take advantage of that a little bit. But there's always opportunity. The glory days are always ahead of us, is what I always say. So find an industry that you're passionate about and focus on getting your ranking up and up and up. So SEO is super important. I would definitely recommend learning. Ads is a whole different world. You get the same outcome, but you go about it completely different. So what I would recommend with ads is try out a few different platforms, but then quickly focus on the one that you are getting like the best results from, because it's going to be really hard to focus on multiple different advertising platforms at the same time and learn them at a high level. And you will need to learn them at a decent level. It doesn't have to be as high as someone who's an expert who you might hire in Upwork, but you do need to learn about ads at a relatively high level, to the point where like you could go into a Google Ads portal or a Facebook Ads portal, understand what all the buttons mean, understand what all the data means, understand like the implications of every single thing that you could be doing, and then you could work with an expert as well to get like a professional opinion. But you do need to be fluent in this space, because it's just so important to make sure that your cost of advertising is very efficient, and that you're targeting the right people, and you're doing it in a way that's going to optimize your results. Okay, and so that's going to result in a lot of testing. Similar to SEO with ads, there's a lot of it's more like upfront cost. In terms of, in the case of ads, it's not so much like promoting your website, it's more learning how the ads will optimize your traffic, right? Like you may get a ton of traffic, but you may be attracting the wrong people who aren't actually going to convert into paying customers. So you really want to focus on, how do I get the highest margin recurring clients that are the least headache. Again, every business is different, so what you're looking for is going to be very specific to your business. But generally speaking, you're looking for high margin clients that are like easy to deal with and are recurring in nature. That's most businesses are generally looking for that clientele. You're trying to avoid people that like come to your website, they ask a lot of questions, they're cheap, they don't really want to spend money, They're going to complain about everything and that kind of stuff. So you really want to focus on finding a certain type of customer, right? And for every business, that profile looks a lot different, depending on what you're doing, what you're selling, where you are in terms of what you're able to execute on, depending on what kind of business you are. You're going to be at a different stage. You're not going to be ready for certain types of customers, depending on what your business is. But you really have to kind of learn how to use those ads, and then once you've mastered one platform, and these days in many cases for many businesses, it'll either be Google or like the Facebook portfolio, so like Facebook, Instagram, those are the main two. But then there's also like a lot of industry specific platforms, like some people maybe in the restaurant industry might do Yelp ads, or different platforms like that exist that are more they're not as big as Google or Facebook, but they're kind of like Yelp isn't that niche, but there are like a lot of niche platforms depending on the industry that you may be like, okay, actually advertising here is getting me a lot of returns, right? So you want to focus on something with ads, you want to optimize it, and then you want to then you can move on to the other platform. So that's kind of the overview of like search engine optimization versus ads. Highly I would recommend to learn both of these at a decent level. Don't go crazy and try to learn everything, because you're not going to have the time. You're going to want to focus on other things as well for your business, but you definitely want to be able to have a very well educated, proficient conversation with experts that you hire. In my opinion, Upwork is the best place to hire experts that you hire for these types of things, and you're going to find both of these things are going to completely change your business, both paid ads and search engine optimization. Even with the best search engine optimization, I still recommend paid ads, even if you're like the top ranking company, because so many people click on paid ads. And I will end with this. If what you're selling generally is like your average customer value is under $1,000 a year, those tend to be the industries that paid ads are going to be like absolutely essential. If you're selling something more high margin, something that's more like a high margin recurring service, something that's more of a commitment, that kind of thing, your customers tend to do a little bit more research. They tend to be a little bit more sophisticated. So search engine optimization tends to be a little bit better for more of those like high margin recurring services. That's just in my experience. So I've done both. I've done like multiple different businesses, all in kind of different spaces, all completely different types of operations. So that's one kind of insight that I've really found, that the high margin recurring services, the customers tend to research more, so the SEO is good. The lower margin kind of quick one-time things, paid ads are really good. But in either case, you should definitely focus on both. But for the ads, focus on one platform, so at a time, and optimize that. So that's kind of our overview. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave it in the comments below, and we'll definitely be sure to get back to you. And looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say.